Hello, everyone. I'm Raíssa, and I'm bringing you a new podcast in English of the blog Só Futebol now. Now we have 29 degrees Celsius in Natal, but the temperature really feels like 31 degrees Celsius. It's really hot. It's a sunny day. That's the normal thing here in Natal. And today I decided that we should talk about this kind of evolution that we think humankind is going through. But before we start that, I want to first apologize about our last podcast because a lot of things didn't work out well. And I really realized that I can't multitask in English. It's not a good idea. Yeah, mainly if we are talking about technology. Using YouTube was not a good idea. First, because YouTube has a lot of advertisements, so I was trying to play some music to you, but then I had to deal with like 1 minute of advertisement, so it was really terrible. I don't know if I can say that in English, but it was, okay? And also, I had the very bad experience of having a video on YouTube because every podcast becomes automatically a video on YouTube. So I had this very bad experience of having a video that YouTube turned into a mute video, removed the sound of the video because I had 10 tracks there, 10 songs, and because of copyright reasons, I couldn't play my video on YouTube completely. So I'm not going to repeat the experience. So that's why I want to start apologizing for that and promising you. Of course, we also had the mistakes that I had in English because of these multitasking problems. So I start by apologizing and saying that I'm not going to multitask again during podcasts, especially the podcasts that are in English, okay? So I'm talking now about this evolving or not, this evolution that we think the humankind is going through. But are we really going through this evolution? I don't know. I was watching a movie this week with some students. I talked about this last night, but it was in Portuguese, so I'm going to say it again in English. The movie is Forever Young. And it is about a guy who was frozen in 1939 and then he wakes up in 1992 and the world has changed and etc. And so I was looking at a simple thing that I was looking at the pants that they wore back then in 39 and 92. And if I watched this movie like, let me say, 5 years ago, I would say, wow, these pants with these high places where we put the belt is not common anymore. And now this all back because fashion is always coming back. We have something that is really new and we think it's new, but if you study history, then you see it's not new. It's been used before. So that's why I have these ideas of evolving. And today I was talking to some students about music, for example. Music is something that really strikes me, lets me really stunned about this because if we think about middle age, back in 1400s, we had the artists, the musicians, to get money. They would go playing their music like castle to castle, like we have some singers nowadays that to get their money because they don't have a salary, they have to play in bars. Every bar, every party, they play to get their money. So in middle age, that's how musicians got their money, Or even sometimes it was not money. They played for food, like, oh, I'm gonna play here, so you give me some dinner or something like that. So then the technology evolved, right? And we could record music that was really amazing because we could have someone playing just once a song or some piece of music, and then we could hear or listen to that many times later years later, decades later, we could still listen to that very special moment many, many times in history. So it was a good thing because now musicians could play their song once and then they could get money selling copies of their albums, right? First the LPs, then the CDs and etc. And then we evolved a little bit more and we got to the CD, the compact disc. The quality of the music was unbelievable back then because we had really hi-fi music. We could pay attention to every detail of every instrument. So it was really amazing to us. And then we got the MP3 extension. Then music got like infinite. We could have 200 songs in a CD. So it was the dream of every artist because they could sell a collection of their song, like all career in a CD and get a lot of money from that. That's what we thought, right? Because what happened? People started to download music everywhere, illegally downloading, not paying for that. And now we have this reality that most of the artists, if they want to get some money, they have to play not from castle to castle as we had before, but from place to place. So even great artists, they have to have tours to get money because CDs, they are not number one source of money anymore. So this really strikes me like, are we really evolving? Because, you know, I'm talking about middle age time, and now we are in 2016, it's the 21st century, and it's like we are evolving, and then we get back to where we were before. So it's really amazing, you know, it's strange. I can't explain that. How can we evolve and then we get back to some place? And it really gets me thinking about that. How is this possible? And I also remember that when we study history, all teachers say that history is like a cycle, you know. We come full circle sometimes because it starts in one point and gets evolving, and then when you see we are back at the same point. That's exactly what happened to music, in my opinion. But we have other things to talk about this. For example, if we talk about correspondence, first people wrote letters and they had beautiful writing, and then someone in a horse would get the message to another place. It would take a lot of time to get to the person, to the destination, you know. And then we had a little bit of evolution here, and we got this technology so we can send messages through a computer. First we had the ICQ. Really, people that are in their 30s, you know, they're gonna remember this. We had a software called ICQ that would send message to people. The moment that you would get online, you would receive the message that your friend had sent to you. And then we evolved a little bit to get to MSN. I have to say that I've never used MSN. I didn't like it. I don't like Skype, this kind of things. I know that we still have them, but I don't like them. And then we started with this social media. Like in Brazil, it was very famous. I don't know if you know this. It depends on your age. Orkut. Okay, Orkut was number one. If you wanted to talk to your friends, you would go to their page on Orkut and then leave them a scrap. It was a kind of message there, and everybody could see what you sent. But that was in Brazil, because in other places like in the USA, people really like MySpace and other kind of social media. And then we get to Twitter, right? And Twitter was a new thing that sounded strange because you had to leave a message to everybody, not only to one person directly. And you had to use only 140 characters. So you had to say what you want to say, but you had to say it directly. You had to say with no really going around, you know. So if you want to say it straight. That was the idea of Twitter. And people started to using symbols, to use symbols to express what they want to say. For example, if you want to laugh, you don't say, I'm laughing. No. Now people just type LOL, laughing out loud, or something like that. And we have other symbols too. And you have to understand what people are saying that using these symbols, right? So 140 characters to say what you want to say. And then we evolved a little bit. We got to WhatsApp. And that's what I want to show you, that sometimes we evolve, and then we get back to nothing. Because if you think of 1939, people would talk on the phone. Can you picture this? They had a big public phone in front of them. Then they would hold something like a tube. That was the speaker, right? They would hold it right into their ear, and they would place their mouth really close to the phone. The phone had another tube that was the speaker, and you would talk like this with the microphone. You would hold the speaker really close to your ear, and you would place your mouth really close to the microphone so you could speak to someone there. And what do you do now with WhatsApp? You can send messages, written messages, but people prefer to send audio messages, right? Oral messages. So what do? They have a phone. Sometimes they have earphones, and they hold the smartphone really close to their mouth to speak, and everyone can understand what they're saying. So we evolve, and then we get back to where we were before. We use the phone the same way our grandparents used, like holding a phone to the ear, directly to the ear, and speaking to the microphone really close so people can understand us. It's funny how things change, and then they get back to the same place, right? So that's the idea of WhatsApp. And then the new idea of WhatsApp, it's another thing that we wrote letters before, and now we don't want to write letters anymore. Okay, that's okay. No one wants to send a letter. But even the written message, people don't like this. People want to talk. And they talk, but they don't want to talk as in a telephone, you know. They don't want to call someone and then have the instant answer, the instant reply. No, I want to say something. I record what I say. And then I expect that some minute the person that I'm talking to is going to listen to that audio and then send me a response. So it's funny because we have the technology to talk immediately, to talk instantly, but we prefer this old-fashioned way. It's really funny. When we talk about movies, for example, they had no sound. And they had only someone playing the piano during the slideshow of these pictures, and then we had the actors speaking directly in the movie, and then we changed the movie to a small thing like the videotape, and then everyone had a VCR at home. They would watch movies at home, and then videotapes were not good anymore. Then we had the video laser, then we got the DVD, then we got the Blu-ray. And nowadays we don't like these things anymore. We prefer Netflix, so we can watch movies everywhere. We can watch movies at home. We can watch movies if you have a smartphone with the internet access. You can watch this in the bus, for example. You can watch this waiting for a doctor. So everything is changing very fast, and some people say that the movies are going to be over. No one is going to go to the theater anymore, but I don't think that's right, because every time I go to the movies on Wednesday, that is the day that we have discounts to get into the movies, people are there in line waiting to buy their tickets and to watch a movie. But of course, convenience is getting at the number one place to everyone. So Netflix is really growing with these changes. Maybe this is the only thing that really changed with technology, you know, the way that we watch movies. We still go to the movies, but at home things have changed completely. We are trying to get a movie theater to our houses, right? And then we watch movies like in a comfortable place, in a way that we can pause the movie and we can resume later. We can stop to answer some phone, to talk to a friend, and then we resume that. Netflix, for example, has a lot of series that we can do this. When we get back to it, we can see exactly where we were before. So maybe that is the area that really evolved when we are talking about technology here. And books I think is an area that we don't have much technology yet. They tried ebooks, uh, and they said that the traditional books would be over because with a machine like a tablet that they say it's an e-reader, you could carry like a bookshelf of books, right? You can carry like 100 books, 200 books everywhere, and you could read in an airplane, you could read really everywhere that you can imagine. You can read because this doesn't depend on the internet access. So, but they forgot something important. People who like books, they like books. They like all the experience, you know. I say that for me, for example, I really love books. I can say that I am addicted to reading. And for me, it's all about the experience, you know. It's taking a very good look at the cover of the book to analyze the content of the book. Is holding the book in my hands, is smelling the pages, you know, all this experience. It's holding and feeling that you are turning pages. They are trying to get that to this modern technology of e-readers. Some of them, you really have this feeling that you are turning pages, but it's not the same thing. We know that it's not the same thing, you know. It will never have the same smell. That's the point. The scent is different. So that's the only market that it is really clear that the traditional market is really larger, and it will never be overcome by the new one. These e-readers will never get over the traditional books. Never. I can guarantee you that it never can change this feeling that we have of holding a book. That is what we love. We addicted to books, right? So, and another thing that we evolved, or it changed a lot, is the diaries. I don't know if you had this habit. When I was a little girl, I loved the idea of writing a diary every day, sometimes more than once a day. I would get my diary to write about my experiences, my feelings, what I thought about something. And I kept this habit for a long time during my childhood, during my teenage years. When I got to be an adult, I kind of lost this habit for some time, but then I discovered the blog, you know, and how to blog. So it became a habit again. As you can see, this Só Futebol now, it's a kind of a diary for me. I really write about, of course, it started about soccer, and I explained this many times to you, so I'm not going to repeat the story here. But it started like about soccer. But at the beginning, the very first moment that I started this blog, I didn't want it to be just about soccer. So that's why I chose this title, Só Futebol now. It's not only about soccer. That was the idea, because I really like to talk about other things. I like cooking. I like philosophy. I'm really interested in philosophy. I like movies. I like reading. So sometimes I need to politics too. Sometimes I really need to express my opinions, to share my opinions. I like to discuss. You know, I don't like having arguments. No, that's not the idea. But discussing ideas, I think it's marvelous. I love to do that. And I understand that people don't have much time to sit with friends anymore and really discuss this kind of things. So as I miss this, I try to have this blog to be like this. And I still talk to my friends through the internet to discuss things. So that was the idea of the blog. So the blog is this kind of evolving thing, you know. First we had the diary. Now we have a blog, so we can blog about anything. We can talk about our lives there, our frustrations, our achievements, and etc. But I have to say that some people still prefer the diary. If you go to a bookstore, for example, if you go to Saraiva here, you will see that there are lots of notebooks to sell there, but they are not only simple notebooks. They are kind of a fancy notebook. If I'm not wrong, the brand is Moleskine, so they are really expensive. But people pay that kind of money to have a notebook and to write on it, you know. So it's kind of the same thing that happens to books. When you really like writing, nothing can replace this experience of writing. Even if you type, it's not the same thing. People who like writing, they like to see their writing changing. They like to see the sentences being formed, and then they like to erase that and do something else. So it's kind of the experience is what you love, you know. It's not really about the result. It's about the experience. So if you like the experience, you're not really really comfortable with changing this to technology very fast. That's not the idea of it. But as I told you, I talked about some aspects of this evolving, so I got this idea on my mind that I don't know if we are really evolving, because sometimes we change a lot of things, but we change so much that we get to the point where we were before. It's like when people say, "Oh, I gotta change that something moved from 0 to 360 degrees. Wow, so you just got a spin around and you return to the same place. So I think in some aspects of life nowadays, we are just like that. Talking on the phone is one of that. I think we are back in the 30s, 1930s. Okay, correspondence is like that too. Of course, we don't have letters anymore, but I think that's the point. And music, wow, I think this is the number one that has returned to the place that it was before, because nowadays artists, they have to perform live if they want to get their money. It's not possible to sell CDs anymore. Not if you want to live with this kind of money. CDs are not going to pay your food anymore. Well, that's all, guys, for today. I don't want to talk very much because I talk very much. So that was the idea, to talk about philosophy things, different things on Friday and Saturday, as I keep saying here to you. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock, if you want to hear about ABC and America, the teams that we have, soccer teams that we have here in Rio Grande do Norte, Natal, you can come back here at 10 o'clock. We'll talk about everything that happened to them and that will happen to them, of course, expressing my opinions. And I'm really anxious to hear from you about all of this podcast. So if you want to contact me, the best way is the Twitter, okay? If you have a Twitter account, go there and type at Raíssa _ Silva _ and please send me your feedback about this, okay? So that's it. Have a good afternoon, everyone, and hope to see you here tomorrow or maybe next week. Bye-bye.